K Street Kickback. What is that? Well, it's what they call tax extenders, and it was in the jobs bill in the Senate. $30 billion of tax breaks to the largest corporations in the country. Now, guess who was pushing for that? Of course, the Republican Party. And Harry Reid did something very surprising. He came in and said, you know what, I'm going to take it out. This jobs bill is loaded up with pork now, loaded up with these tax cuts that the Republicans lobbied for, and a lot of the Democrats did too. It got up to $85 billion, and so little of it was to create jobs. It was actually to pay off the lobbyists that have poured in money to these senators. So, shockingly, we had a good result there. Reid took it out and started with an actual jobs bill. Okay, so that's great, right? So guess what happened? The Republicans are livid. First, let me explain the scam, and then I'll explain the Republican quotes to you. Here's how it works. They don't actually put this stuff in the budget year to year, because if they do, these $30 billion tax breaks that they renew every single year would add up to a lot of money. Okay, they add up to a lot of money in the first year, but over 10 years, that's $300 billion out of the budget. None of the politicians want to admit that they're going to spend that kind of money, right? They want to pretend that it's not in the budget. So that's advantage number one. Advantage number two is lobbyists love it because that makes them be able to go back to the companies and go, hey, look, they could end this program any year. You're going to need to rehire me so that I can convince the politicians not to end it every year and get you that same $30 billion tax break year in and year out. Number three, the politicians love it because those lobbyists then funnel them the money. Every year, they're able to build up their campaign coffers by saying, we are either going to end that tax break or we're not. You better give it to us. So then they get money, and then they crush any real American that's trying to run for office with these corporate robots that we have in office now who all their job is to serve corporate interests. They take it and they crush everybody in their path by buying all the ads. So that's how this scam works. Now, the guys who are the most proficient at this scam and the guys who built this scam are the Republicans. Now, believe me, the Democrats partake a lot. But in this case, the proof is in the pudding. Reid refused to do it, and he's the Senate Majority Leader for the Democrats. And now the Republicans are irate. How are they irate? Well, this is an extra piece of rich irony here. First, they argued that the jobs bill was terrible. Now, they were going to, you understand that they had these $30 billion that they desperately wanted to go to K Street, right? So they're arguing against something that they actually want. I'm going to prove that in a second. So Senator Kyle, for example, said, I wouldn't call this a jobs bill. All of that has to be done, but it does not create one job, okay? No, this is not a jobs bill. It's terrible. The Democrats are the worst. So Reid, understandably for the first time, finally said, hey, you know what? If you don't like the bill so much, why don't I just take the stuff out of it that I promised you? And all of a sudden, the Republicans cry uncle. They're like, why are you grabbing me? Why are you grabbing me? They say, okay, wait a minute. Here's Orrin Hatch. We're certainly unhappy with this process, and it's highly partisan. When Senator Reid goes and does this to the Republicans in such a brazen way, it poisons the well. He turned it into the House in a matter of hours. You never gave him a single vote. You were arguing against the bill. You said it didn't create a single job. What happened? I thought you didn't like the bill. Oh, it turns out you loved the bill, didn't you? Because it had $30 billion in giveaways to your corporate friends. Now, when he took it out of there, you hate it. There's more. This was called the Baucus-Grassley bill. Now, on the Democratic side, who's the sellout? Again, for the millionth time in a row, Max Baucus. He did a bipartisan deal with the Republicans where they all get paid. Now, to credit the Democrats, though, other Democrats rebelled against it and said, no, we don't want to do this. But Baucus was, of course, ready to sell out on day one. So when Reid takes it out of the bill, the Republicans say he's now undermining the economic recovery. What happened? I thought it wasn't going to create a single job. How could it be undermining the economic recovery? You liars. And I got one more for you. Oh, here's a fun fact. You know what they were negotiating for before, the Republicans? They already got the $30 billion tax breaks. It was already in that bipartisan Baucus-Grassley bill. They were negotiating to add huge estate tax cuts, too, because they hadn't got enough tax breaks for the richest Americans in the country. The estate tax only affects a tiny, tiny, much less than 1% of the country. Okay? It's absolute millionaires. By definition, it's millionaires. Okay? And they want to get a huge tax cut for them, too. Meanwhile, they say, oh, I don't want to vote for that bill, but I demand that you put it in there. All right, you know what happened? You don't get the estate tax cut, and you don't get your K Street kickback. And all of a sudden, oh, no, please. What was this? This? He's gone. Orrin Hatch and John Kyle, they're squealing like pigs now. How are we going to get the lobbyist money? We promised them. You know, look, every time the Democrats sell out progressives, we're the suckers, okay? And we are, and I get irate over it, right? Every time the Republicans sell you out, you conservatives should be livid over it, because you guys are the ones that pretend to be all like, oh, no, we don't have special interest. No, we want the politicians to represent us. The politicians are the ones. So I assume you despise John Kyle. You despise Orrin Hatch, who are trying to get this money to $30 billion to the corporations and the huge tax cuts to the richest people in America. You hate them, right? No, you're going to vote for them like dogs. Because some Americans for Prosperity, which is a front group for those same corporations, is going to tell you to vote for them. They're going to have you protest against the public option, which would actually create competition to those companies and would lower your prices. And like a moron, you're going to go out there and be like, yeah, no competition, more profits for companies. Am I part of that company? No, I'm not, right? Okay. And then when it comes time to vote, like a dog, you're going to vote for those same guys.